Here with head football coach of Prattville High School, Chad Anderson. Coach, first of all, congratulations on an outstanding season and making it to the first ever 7A state championship game.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Well, Coach, talk about this season. It's been a great year for you guys. This is your third year as the head coach at Prattville, and you can see over the last couple of years this program has grown and gotten back to where it has been this past decade. And I know you guys and your coaching staff have worked tremendously hard to get it back to this point, 11-2 on the season. Just talk about this season in general.
I mean, it's been a season of some setbacks for sure, and I think you learn from those when you lose ball games. And as a coach, you hate to say that to your kids or your coaches that you learn from your losses, but I think our kids really did do that this year. Early on, the first loss was, had a lot of turnovers and mistakes in there, and then we had played a really good team in that in general, and you can't do that against a good football team. And then the second loss, I think, was a lot of complacency against another pretty good football team, and went into that, and I think a little too overconfident. And I think it all kind of just put our kids in check, and they really focused in on what we asked them to do, and that's the key to it all. When you're coaching kids, is when you're teaching them something, do they listen, do they take it, and do they apply it? And I think our guys did that this year.
Coach, talk about how to balance all of that stuff and the roller coaster that a season can be, because you can start listening to what other people talk about and how good you are and this, that, and the other, and then you can have a setback. And what did your players learn from that? Obviously, they learned that you go into a football game, you can't let your highs be too high or let your lows be too low.
Yeah, definitely. And, I know it's been a financial burden being on the road for 3 straight weeks, but the big plus and positive of that is it gets our kids out of the school, on these long trips, and then they can just focus on football. And something we've been doing with those guys, taking up their cell phones and media and that sort of thing, and just having a whole day where they just devote and focus to football and focus on the task at hand. I think that's been positive for us in that situation. And then, seasons, they're in a season, I don't care who you are, you're going to have those highs and lows. And I think you said it, where you don't get too high, don't get too low. And we were able to maintain that, and our kids were able to bounce back and work hard. And being in a town like Prattville, I mean, you lose a ball game, it's hard to go to the barber shop on Saturday for sure. And and our guys know that quite well. And then social media, with the prevalence of social media and how that plays into it. If you listen to those things, you're always going to find the negative really easy. And it's all out there. It doesn't matter where you are, who you are. There's somebody that, no matter how good you're doing or bad you're doing, they're going to be negative about whatever it is. And, to make sure your kids don't focus on that and let it more drive them than hurt them in those situations. And our guys have done that.
Coach, talk about the first time you played Phenix City versus the last time you played. A lot of times those rematch games, you see them coming and you're like, we got to play those guys again. But it's hard to beat the same team twice, and Phenix City found that out. They come to your place during the season. It was a tough football game, a close football game. You guys came up on the short end of that stick, but in the playoff, when it really matters, you guys got the best of Phenix City.
Yeah, we were very fortunate in that situation. I know they had a couple of key players out in that game, and our guys really just came in and approached it the right way. And Coach Dubose does a great job of putting his players in the right place to make plays, and I thought we did a good job of kind of looking at our mistakes from that first game and adjusting to those things. And our kids really played well, and our defense has really come on in the last couple of weeks and done a good job against some top-rated offenses in the South as far as 7A goes. So just having that experience and getting to go back into it and correct those mistakes, no turnovers, and those type of things, I think it really helped us in that regards.
Tremendous win over Foley in the semifinals to get here to this state championship game. You take on a very common foe in Hoover. It's been Prattville and Hoover at the top of the heap over the last decade, really, in Class 6A. Now it's in Class 7A. Just talk about that opportunity to play Hoover and what Hoover and Prattville have done for the largest classification here in the state over the last decade.
I think it's a great following. You're not going to find two better football towns in the state of Alabama as far as fan support and the people that they'll bring. So I know that game will definitely be a packed game and a lot of fan support from that. And you know, Hoover's just a top team year in and year out, and I think they've played for it all but 1 year in the last 13 or 14 years. So I think that speaks highly of the town itself. And you know, and Coach Niblett does a good job of coaching his guys up, and I've gotten the chance to hear him a couple of times speak and just hear him and as a communicator, and he definitely does a great job with that.
Coach, before I let you go, talk about some of the kids on this team that really are the leaders on this team that you rely on the field.
Yes, sir. Offensively, Keith Washington does a great job, and he has a very, and you know, I've been describing them as a blue-collar group, so I mean, it's really kind of a collective, but he is definitely the guy that, you know, sets the tone at practice for sure. And then the offensive line, I mean, they come to work every day and really play well together and have gelled together. And then, you know, the wide receiver core. And coming in that first year really just, you know, made the point that, hey, if you're not going to block, you're not going to be on the field. You know, wide receiver and those guys, that's what they do, whether they're blocking or catching or whatever it may be. They work very hard at it and play through the bumps and bruises. And then we've had two really good running backs the last 2 years and with us, and they're juniors, Kingston Davis and Joseph Burke, that carry a lot of load for us. And those, and a newcomer in Christian Mays that adds a good spark to our side of the ball on offense. And defensively, our defensive front has been strong all year long. They really fight and push through, you know, the offensive lines and give a great effort each and every ball game. And in the secondary level, Blake Baker has been a real leader for us for 3 years. And I think he, you know, as a 10th grader, he got picked on enough, you know, going through that. And it's really taught him to be resilient, and he is definitely a resilient kid and works very hard. But again, it's a collective on both sides of the ball and what they do and how hard they play for each other.